Namo Namaha to all, respected Chairperson, Professor Siddhartha Vakankar, dignitaries, and all the participants. The topic for today's presentation, which I have chosen, is research methodology in ancient India. So, when we are deliberating on IKS, that is ancient Indian knowledge systems, we often forget one area, that is research methodology. Because whenever we try to learn research methodology or we are teaching research methodology to students, often the focus is on modern research methods. But now I'm attempting that can we trace back this research methodology in ancient times, how it was developed and how it was, we can say, embedded in our shastras. When we talk about research methodology, we can trace it back. So when we talk about ancient India, we have a rich tradition of different shastras. We have shastras connected to empirical sciences. We have Bhautika Shastra, Ganita Shastra, Rasayana Shastra, etc. We have social sciences it may be arts or Artha Shastra, just now we have learned. In literature, we can see Vyakarana Shastra is there, then aesthetics, that is Saundarya Shastra is there. So we have great tradition of Shastra literature, Shastra Parampara, we can say. So we definitely we can understand that if there was a rich tradition of Shastra, there then must be a method to write those shastras. Some methodology was developed to compose these shastras. So there were researches going on in ancient India pertaining to different fields. And definitely, therefore, there was a methodology to do that. So now I'm focusing particularly on textual method with certain examples and how this research methodology was developed that we can see. So when we talk about research, what is research? We are aware about various definitions of research, that re-examining or re-investigating or analyzing, systematic investigations, etc. Samyak shodhanam, parikshanam, or ajnatasya prakashanam, avishkaranam, etc., etc. But one thing is very common, that it is not just examination or investigation, but it is systematic investigation. It is careful investigation. And that gives us a sense that we have to follow some methodology. If methodology is not followed, then any search or any investigation cannot be called as a research, cannot be called as a Sankshodhanam. So, this kind of research methodology is followed in today's era. Similarly, it was followed in ancient India as well. And that we have to understand. Now, how we can understand that? When we follow the research methodology, there are some common steps. So it may be any field, it may be science or any field. These are some common steps because this is scientific research methodology. So first we observe, then there is a curiosity, and there is a research problem. So formation of research problem is very necessary, and that comes with observation and curiosity. So even in our textual method or textual research, it happens that first we read the treatises. First, we read our text, Sanskrit text, and we come across certain things about which we are curious, and then we form the research problem. For example, if we come across the word yoga in Vedic text, and then it is reflected in Shastra Grantha of yoga, like Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Hatha Yoga Pradipika, etc. So there may be one may be curious that whether this word yoga is used with same connotation or not, and accordingly one can form a research problem. So after that, the step is formation of hypothesis, which is nothing but the conclusion which is predicted based on proper observation. It is not superficial observation. Then one needs to formulate the design of the research, then data collection, the analysis, and then the conclusion. So when these steps are taken into consideration, can we see these steps in ancient Indian text or ancient shastras also? So definitely the answer is yes. So we can see certain examples of that. Our shastras are specimen, or we can say in that we can see that research methodology is reflected, because it may be any shastra, darshana shastra, vyakarana shastra, or sahitya shastra. It is composed with proper discipline, that is proper methodology. So we can see that we had researchers, we had ancient researchers. They are often known as commentators, or the writers of particular shastras as such. For example, Sayanacharya has written commentaries on Vedic literature. Now, of course, they had come across a research problem, that what may be the meaning of the Vedas, because so far the Vedas were not explored that much, and so he felt the need to comment upon the Vedas to explore the meaning. So that was his research problem. Similarly, for Shankaracharya, Brahma Sutranam Artha Nishchitihi. What was the meaning of Brahma Sutras? Because by the time the meaning of Brahma Sutras was not understood properly. So it was a necessity to ascertain the meaning of Brahma Sutras. Now, once the meaning was ascertained by Shankaracharya, then why again Ramanujacharya wrote the commentary on Brahma Sutra? Because Shankaracharya had written the commentary on Brahma Sutras with specific outlook. That was the approach of Nirguna Brahman. And Ramanujacharya wanted to prove the authenticity of Saguna Brahman. He wanted to prove that Saguna Brahman is the ultimate reality. So that was his research problem. Similarly, Yaskacharya wanted to prove that Vedic mantras or Vedic words are not meaningless, because there was a strong school of thought believing that Nirarthaka vai mantraha. And so he etymologized all the words and he gave the whole science of etymology, that is Nirukta. Similarly, for Kautilya, Rajaniti Vyavasthapanam, that he gave the science of polity, because his predecessor definitely had written certain things, but they may be partial and not suitable to the time. And so Kautilya came with Arthashastra. Similarly, we can see for Panini, Patanjali, and Abhinavagupta that they came across a certain research problem, and then they solved it with particular research perspective. So we can see that the research problem which is there in the beginning and adoption of particular research perspective, that is very common among these Shastrakaras, that they have adopted a drushti, Samshodhana drushti, and then solved that particular research problem. So we can take those specimens from our ancient researchers. Now, how we can see the Samshodhana Shastra in our ancient text, that which is reflected. So we can find certain research tools as reflected in our ancient Shastras. For example, Nyaya. Now, Nyaya is called as fundamental darshan, because one should learn Nyaya in order to understand all darshanas, it is said as. It is called as Pradeepa, a lamp. Because Nyaya epistemology is very important in order to reach towards the right knowledge. Basically, the Nyaya darshan is about that. And so Nyaya epistemology is very, very important in order to do any kind of research. We will take some examples of that. Then Mimamsa is very important, because Mimamsa is considered as a science of hermeneutics. And Mimamsa was a science to interpret Vedic mantras. So that interpretation becomes necessary while doing any research. Similarly, we can see Nirukta. Etymology is very important tool in research. Many a times we are stuck about the meanings of the word, and that meanings, when etymologized, can give us particular direction. So Nirukta is very important tool of research. In Ayurveda, we have Sambhasha, that is a science of debate, Vada Paddhati, and that Vada, which actually leads towards the right knowledge. So all these tools actually lead us towards the right knowledge, and the very purpose of research is to go towards the right knowledge without any preconceived notion, partiality, or any biases. So it is done with open-minded approach, and all these sciences actually help us to do that. Similarly, Tantra Yukti is very important aspect. Tantra Yukti is basically the way of scientific writing, because research is not just exploring a thing by oneself, by researcher, but it is also a presenting it through a particular means like paper, dissertation, thesis, and for that Tantra Yukti is definitely very helpful, and it was adopted by our Shastrakaras to compose Shastra Granthas. So when we take the example of Nyaya, as I said, Nyaya was considered as a fundamental to all darshanas. So it was considered as if, the mandatory to learn Nyaya, to learn any kind of Shastra. So if we take the example of Nyaya Pramana Shastra, Nyaya has adopted the four Pramanas, Pratyaksha, Anumana, Shabda, and Upamana. So when we come to Pratyaksha, it is defined as Indriyartha Sannikarsha Janyam Jnanam Pratyaksham, that the knowledge which is, Hare. Okay, so Pratyaksha is a knowledge which is gathered to sense organs. And when we come to the research, we have to go through the primary data, secondary data. We can't rely on a data which is gathered by others. So we have to go through the primary text. If I want to prove something, for example, about Uttarakanda of Valmiki Ramayana, that whether it is interpolated or not, I have to read Uttarakanda by myself. Otherwise, I will not be in a position to pass any remark, any conclusion about the Uttarakanda. So that pratyaksha is very necessary. After that comes Anumana. Based on those sources, based on that gathered data, uh, I think an interruption is there. Shall I continue?
Yes, please. I'm not sure what sort of interruption. I'll look into it. Please continue.
So based on pratyaksha, we have to proceed with Anumana. So most of the time what happens is researchers collect the data, and that data is compiled and think that, okay, my research is done, but it is not so. We are only till pratyaksha. We have to use further Anumana as well. Based on that gathered data, we have to infer something. Based on known facts, we have to go towards the unknown, which we have to prove. So that interpretation of the collected data is basically based on Anumana. That analysis comes in Anumana. Anumana is defined as Paschat, Anu, Nama Paschat Niyate Tat. So it is not possible without Pratyaksha. Similarly, if we are not gathered the data collection is not done, we can't go towards the data analysis and data interpretation. Similarly, Shabda, that is Apta Vakyam Shabda, it is defined as. So that it is a belief on some Apta, that is authoritative person. Similarly, in research, we consider some authentic work as pramana and proceed. For example, if we are working on Dharma Shastra, we may rely on the sources of P.V. Kane, and we may work further. Similarly, Upamana, which is based on comparison, the example is given as Gauriva Gavayaha. So while interpreting the data, many a times we have to compare the data and then deduce the conclusion, because in isolation, many a times we can't deduce the conclusion. For example, while analyzing the sources from mythology, S.A. Dange and Dr. S.A. Dange and Dr. S.S. Sindhu Dange often compare the Indian narratives with the narratives or myths across the world, and then they deduce certain conclusion, then they decode certain allegories or symbols. So this Pramana Shastra definitely paves the way for research methodology, we can say. then as I said, Anumana is very important step because Anumana has two types, Swarthanumana and Pararthanumana. In Swarthanumana, we have, there is a journey of a researcher. That researcher first has to understand what is getting proved, and definitely it is based on three aspects, that is Pratijna, Hetu and Udarana. So Hetu is very important. Without Hetu, Anumana doesn't get proved. Parvato Vanniman Dhuma Vatvat. So, without references, without evidences, it is not possible to prove anything. So, researcher has gathered the evidences or references and has proved something. But that is only limited to the researcher. When it comes to presentation, when it comes to writing research papers, when it comes to writing dissertation or thesis, Pararthanumana is very important because you are explaining your research to others. So we have to adopt additional steps, that is Upanaya and Nigamana also, that you have to justify your research with proper argumentation. And for that, you have to present sometimes the views of predecessors, prove how they are correct or incorrect, and then comes to the Nigamana. So, you have to give some illustrations, examples. You have to take the entire overview of the predecessor's research. So, Pararthanumana helps us to come with research writing. And unless and until there is a proper research writing, research will not get accepted. So our ancient sciences teach us how to come with this. Similarly, the Nyaya Shastra has come with excellent Vada Paddhati, that is a tradition of debate. And debate is not just as it is misunderstood, it is not the science of just argumentation, but it is a science which leads us to the right knowledge. Pramana tarka sadhana upalambha, siddhanta viruddha, panchavayava upapannaha. So it actually is equipped with panchavayava. And then only we can lead towards a proper, the right knowledge, because the whole exercise of research is to reach towards the right knowledge. So how we can avoid the bad means of argumentation, that sometimes the research is done with bias and partiality. So how that can be avoided? How the opinions of predecessors can be accepted without any partiality or biases, like Jalpa and Vitanda. So sometimes in Vitanda, the opponent's view or the self view is not presented properly. So there are two ways that only opponent's views are refuted, and one's own view is not properly justified, or it can be other way around. So both are very much partial and they are not considered as a right means in Vada. So if we adopt all these means of Vada, definitely they help in writing a good research paper or good dissertation or thesis, we can say. Then Mimamsa also helps us in developing the research methodology. There are some research Mimamsa principles which are helpful. For example, Sarthakya. And every word or sentence has its meaning and purpose, or Laghava. When one rule is applicable, another should not be assumed. Arthaikatva, word or sentence owing at one and the same place. A double meaning should not be attached, etc. So I'll give one example that often writing of research paper and thesis, we should use the language which is scientific. We can't use the poetic or allegorical language there as we use in poetry. So the meaning which is understood by our research writing should be very clear and crystal. It should be mainly based on vachartha and not vyangyartha. So, and all these principle of Mimamsa were used by our Shastrakaras. Often, I have given here one example of Daya Bhaga Prakarana, where it is the principle that Samausha Harini Mata, that the mother becomes takes the portion of that Daya Bhaga. But here, how the word mother will be understood? Only a natural parent, that because the word mother is also used in figurative sense. But here, all those figurative senses are to be avoided. So similarly, in research writing, we have to use the word with only by Vachartha and not by Vyangyartha or Lakshartha, etc. Because it is a scientific writing. Then, if we come to Nirukta, uh, as I said earlier, Nirukta is excellent tool which is given by Yaskacharya, which can be used in research. That how to etymologize the word. First, he says that you can look at the Vyakarana Samskara. If not, then you can always look at the meaning. But don't say that meaning, that word cannot be etymologized or word doesn't have meaning. So, I have the example while writing the paper on Putana episode of Bhagavata Purana, and of course, it is there in my book also. The word Putana, which was actually misleading because Putana was known as Rakshasi, that is feminist. And what was the meaning of Putana? Often it was etymologized that Puta means who means to purify, and which is not purified, impure, etc. But somehow the meaning was not congruent. So when I came across the many dictionary meanings, I came across one root, that is pui, means which is putrid, that is foul smell. And when I looked into the Ayurvedic treatises, the putana was a disease which was described, which was related with the foul smell. So that is how I could decode that symbology of putana. So even Yaspa has given such interpretation like O Nama Vrutraha. He explains the meaning of Vrutra with the historical school that it may be Asura, demon, which was killed by Indra. But similarly, he says that Megha iti nairuktaha. That because he etymologizes the word by Vru Achadane, which covers. So Megha is that which covers the water principle, and that is how he comes with the allegorical meaning actually. So it is definitely a tool to proceed with the research, and he himself has implemented in his own treatise, we can say. Then, as I have given example of Ayurvedic treatises, means Nyaya methodology of Vada. Similarly, we find Sambhasha in Ayurvedic treatise, and that is Tadvidya Sambhasha. And there are two discussions which are categorized, Sandhaya Sambhasha and Vigruhya Sambhasha. That is friendly discussion and hostile discussion, or Jnanavati Parishad and Mudha Parishad. So here are told the ways which should be avoided in a right way of debating. So definitely it is useful. I'm not elaborating on this because we have already seen the Nyaya, and there are many similarities in Nyaya, Vada Paddhati and Ayurvedic Sambhasha. So similarly, we have Tantra Yuktis, which are tools of research. So even Charaka has mentioned, so Sushruta has mentioned Tantra Yuktis. Similarly, Kautilya Arthashastra has mentioned this. So all these Tantra Yuktis are very much useful in writing any research material. So for example, Adhikaranam, and it is said Yam Artham Adhikrutya Uchyate. It is the very name actually, it is the very topic of the research, we can say. Because many a times student or researcher, prospective researcher have some topic in the mind, but they don't have proper title. And until and unless they decide a particular title, they can't proceed in the research. Because coming with the topic is one thing, but coming with the precise title will lead you towards right research. Then Vidhanam, Shastrasya Prakarananupurvi Vidhanam. Should have proper prakaranas. Once the title is decided, we should be aware of the research design. What will be the chapters? They should be logical. They should lead to each other. Atidesha, Uktena Sadhanam Atidesha. That we can apply some principle which is already proved to other things. And Atidesha is very important tool which is used in all Shastric treatises. So we can use in our research also to avoid repetition. We can't repeat certain things at every time. We can use Atidesha. Purva Paksha, Uttara Paksha are very important, which are used in our Shastras. That we have to refute some views of certain predecessor, which is already proved because it is a research. And we have to propound our own views with proper justification. Sometimes we also accept predecessor's view, that is anumatam. So these are certain examples. So if we adopt this Tantra Yukti, definitely it will help in research writing. Now we can take certain examples from our ancient researchers, for example, how they had adopted this research methodology properly. So if we take the example of Yaskacharya, what was his method? So while writing the treatise called Nirukta, what he does is, like we have seen in Tantra Yuti, Purva Paksha, Uttara Paksha, and Anumatam, he has been quoting his predecessors, but sometimes he agrees, sometimes disagrees, and put forth his own views and justifies it with sound arguments. So many predecessors he has quoted in his treatise, like Shakatayana, Shakapuni, Gargya, Audumbarayana, many. For example, Indriya Nityam Vachanam Audumbarayana, Chad Bhava Vikaraha Bhavanti iti Varshayani, Sarvani Namani Akhyata iti Shakatayana. Similarly, he says, Na Sarvani iti Gargya. This he has followed this we can say method that following of this Purva Paksha, Uttara Paksha and Anumatam we can say. Okay. Then his Vishleshana Paddhati is very interesting. Actually, it is Nirukta is considered as a text of linguistic Bhasha Shastra, or his methodology of is of linguistics and grammar. But he has adopted two different viewpoints also. He sometimes give the explanation which is ritualistic, sometimes it is historical, scientific, philosophical as well. One example I have given, Atha Api अस्य एको रश्मिः चन्द्रमसं प्रतिदीप्यते. So here he says that the moon which gets the light, it is from the ray of the sun. So here he adopts to the scientific understanding. Or similarly, apam cha jyotishascha mishri bhava karmano varsha karma jayate. That how the rain is getting produced. It is with the combination of water and the light, water and fire. He quotes the relevant passage also. Agnirva ito vrishtim samirayati, marutah srushtam vrishtim nayanti, asau adityo agnim rashmibhi paryavartate, athavarshati, etc. So he has adopted to the scientific approach as well. Alankaravid also he is, because he many nipatas he has given, and in those nipatas he has given the nipatas which are in the sense of alankara, like nu, na, chit, etc. So he has that understanding of poetry as well, we can say. Then, while analyzing the Devata Swarupa, he has analyzed the nature of the deities. At that time, also his multifarious or multidimensional approach is visible, because researcher has to have that open-minded approach, should not have that biased approach. So while analyzing the deity Ashvina, what he says, ataha, Dhyusthanaha Devata, that they are Dhyusthaniya Devata. तासाम अश्विनौ प्रथमागामिनौ भवतः अश्विनौ यत् अश्नुवाते sarvam. So he etymologizes the word from the root asha, means to pervade. Now pervade means they are the deities, they pervade. Rasena anyah jyotisha anyah. So he again quote different opinions. Pervade by what? Rasa or jyotisha means light or some kind of liquid. Then Ashvaihi Ashvina iti Auranavabha. He quotes the opinion of Auranavabha, that why they are called as Ashvina, because Ashvaihi, that they are equipped with Ashvas, that is horses. Then he has again quoted number of opinions. Dyava Prithivya iti eke, Ahavratra iti eke, Surya Chandramasa iti eke, that they may be heaven and earth, they may be day and night, they may be sun and moon. Even he quotes the historians' views, Aitihasika view, that they may be some kings. Then he quotes his own opinion. Tayoho kalaha urdhvam ardharatrat prakashi bhavasya anuvishtamvam. That it is the time after the midnight where we can see the tamas, that is darkness, as well as light. So Ashvina is nothing but the combination of the light and the darkness. So his opinion is, stated. after considering all the opinions which were prevalent in his own times, and he is open to multifarious approaches. That is very important. Then, if we come to the Sayanacharya, he has also actually the Sayanacharya Shodha Paddhati, where if we understand, normally it is again misconceived that he was only ritualistic, that he has followed the Yajnika Paddhati. But it is not so. He has given all kinds of explanation wherever possible. Of course, he was predominant with ritualistic exploration. So he will explain the words, grammar one by one. He gives ritualistic explanation of Vedic mantras. He gives etymological explanation by quoting Yaskacharya's Nirukta. He gives philosophical explanation wherever possible. He also states all the akhyanas relevant to those Vedic characters and mantras or suktas. For example, this is the Vantrucha from the Vishnu Sukta, where he is saying that, where it is said that Vishnu created the worlds. Parthivani vimamay rajansi yo askabhayad uttaram sadasti. Now, here the word rajansi, rajas means loka. Now, how he is commenting upon that? First, he says, Kshityadi lokatraya abhimanini agni vaivaditya rupani rajansi. So, the realms which are predominant or presided by fire, wind, and the sun, he says. So, these are some kind of realms, he says. Then he says, Adha Saptaloka and Uttara Bhavinam Sadastham. Means Punya Kurtam Sahanivasa Yogyam Bhuradi Loka Saptakam. So, he interprets that as Saptaloka, which are lower and upper realms, we can say. Then again he interprets that Uparjita Karma Bhogarthatvat Itara Lokanam Tat Karanatvam. Here he comes with philosophical explanation that these realms are for the sake of exhausting one's own karmans. So here the meaning of Uttara, he explains it as Utkrushtataram Loka, that is the best lokas. And why they are best? Apunaravrittehe tasya Utkrishtatvam. That there is no one, once a person goes to that of those upper regions, that is the best lokas, there is no punaragamanam, there is no coming back. And it is possible for upasakanam sahasthanam satyalokam. It is considered as satyasthana. So Sayana has given philosophical explanation also in his commentary. So again, the multidimensional approach of Sayanacharya can be seen while he is interpreting the Vedic mantras. Now we can see the Shankaracharya's method while writing the commentary on Brahma Sutra. So in Adhyasa Bhashya, which is the very Prastavana, which is the very beginning of the Shankara Bhashya, he wants to prove that all Pramana Prameya Vyavahara is Mithya. That all the Pramana Prameya Vyavahara, because generally the Pramana Vyavahara means Pramana is called as valid means of knowledge. But he says that all Pramana Prameya Vyavahara is also Mithya, which is illusory. And for that, how he proves? He says that now I have divided it in the scientific terminology which is given by Nyaya Vaisheshikas. He says that he wants to prove that Manushya Vyavaharaha Ajnana Mulaka, that human behavior, or we can say Pramana Prameya Vyavaharaha, that means our method of cognition, whatever we cognize, we learn, that entire process is actually full of ignorance. That's what he wants to prove. Now, it is very surprising that how we can say that all our cognition process is full of ignorance. So he take resort of Hetu. He says that why? Because Pashwadinam Vyavaharaha Ajnanamulakaha. Because the behavior of animals is full of ignorance, and that is very popular. And what he proves that behavior of animals is equal to the behavior of humans. How it is? So he has given that example that if we show the green grass to the animals, they will come to you. If we show the stick to the animal, they go away. Similarly, for the human, if one is with garland and very uh, pleasing body language, then definitely one will come forward. Maybe there is a welcome thinking that. But if you see that there are people with swords, sticks, and with arrogant gestures, then you will run away. So he says that there is equivalence in the behavior of animals and humans. So if it is very much popular that animals' behavior is full of ignorance, then automatically it gets proved that even Manushya Vyavaharaha, human Vyavahara, Laukika Vyavahara is also full of ignorance. Another example of Shankaracharya is in Anandamayadhikaranam, we can say. While proving Anandam Brahma, in Anandamayadhikaranam, we can say that it is based on Panchakosha Siddhanta of Taittiriya Upanishad. And in that, it is proved that Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya cannot be Brahman. By saying that, here the suffix mayat is in the sense of vikara. The predecessors of Shankaracharya have said that mayat is in the sense of vikara. Vikara means modification. All these koshas are subject to modification, so they cannot be Brahman. But Anandamaya can be Brahman because here the word mayat is in the sense of prachurya. But Shankaracharya refutes that by citing Ardhajaratiya Nyaya. He says that mayat was in the sense of vikara till Vijnanamaya kosha, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya. And all of a sudden, in Anandamaya, how it is in the sense of prachurya. So here he adopts the Mimamsa principle, Arthaikatva. If mayat has the sense of vikara, then it should be vikara in case of Anandamaya also. And again, there is another argument also shown by Shankaracharya that even if the meaning prachurya is taken, it shows that prachurya means there can be slightest of sorrow in Brahman, which is not possible. So Shankaracharya refutes the views of predecessors by Ardhajaratiya Nyaya, means he adopts the principle of Arthaikatva, which is there in Mimamsa, by Ardhajaratiya Nyaya, saying that a lady cannot be half young and half old, which is not possible. So he proves that this with this Nyaya, Ardhajaratiya Nyaya, and says that Anandamaya cannot be Brahman, but Anandam Brahmeti Vejana. This is the Shruti statement. So women must believe that Anandam Brahma. So one more example, but I think depending on the time, um, I will quickly go through it. So this is the example of Vakya Shesha, which is again another Mimamsa principle. There is Brahma Sutra Janmadhyasya Yataha, which is very much brief. Janmadi Asya Yataha. So here what is Asya is not known. So here Shankaracharya says Jagataha, but what is that Jagat? Namarupabhyam Vyakrutasya Aneka Kartru Bhoktru Sanyuktasya प्रतिनियत देश काल निमित्त काल फलाश्रयस्य मनसा अपि अचिंत्य रचना रूपस्य, that is jagat. So this world is full of nama rupas, full of names and forms which are associated with different kartru bhoktru, that is different doers and enjoyers, and it is again specific with the time and space, and working of the world, even we can't think of it, is beyond our thinking. That much is the expanse of that world. That is understood by the pronoun asya. Then what is the meaning of yatah? Yatah panchami denotes that as a karana. So he says sarvajnat sarvashaktehe karanat bhavati iti Brahma. So Brahma is the karana. And even Janmadi is explained by him as Janma, Sthiti and Bhanga. That is Utpatti, Sthiti and Laya. So this sutra is very important to understand that Brahman is the cause of the world. And this is explained, this is propounded by Shankaracharya with the tool Vakya Shesha, which is again Mimamsa principle. Then even Ramanujacharya's methodology we can see. While proving that Purva Mimamsa and Uttara, so he wants to prove that is actually Pratijna, that Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa are not separate shastras. Actually, it is one shastra called as Mimamsa. So for that he gives Hetu, Mimamsa Purva Bhaga Jnyatasya कर्मणः अल्पस्थिरफलत्वात् उपरीतनभागावसेयस्य ब्रह्मज्ञानस्य अनंत अक्षय फलत्वाच्च. He says that how is it possible to understand Uttara Mimamsa without understanding Purva Mimamsa? Because one who has studied Karma Mimamsa will understand that fruit of karmans is temporary and not eternal. Then only it is worthwhile to understand Uttara Mimamsa, because the fruit of Uttara Mimamsa is Brahman, which is eternal. So it is logical that Purva Mimamsa is earlier and Uttara Mimamsa is later, but they are nothing but one science, one Shastra. So he has given this Hetu, following that Nyaya terminology, we can say. Then there's one more example where he has adopted the principle that there should be congruity between Upakrama and Upasamhara. So the very important Siddhanta of Ramanujacharya, that knowledge is not just knowledge, but it is upasana kind of knowledge. It is bhakti. So he proves that the word jnana, or vedana, which is used in shrutis, in Upanishads, that is used in the sense of bhakti and upasana. For that he uses the tool that there should be congruity between upakrama and upasamhara. So he quotes the shruti passages and he says that in the upakrama, the word vida means the dhatu vida, which is used, vida jnane, in the sense of knowledge, and in upasamhara the root upa plus asa means upasana is used. So it proves that here vida is used in the sense of upasana. So here Ramanujacharya has used actually many Mimamsa tools to prove his point. Similarly, in this interpretation of this mantra, which is considered as very complicated, avidyaya mrutyum tirtva vidyaya amrutam ashnute, which is from Ishavasya Upanishad. Here the word avidya, which is very complicated, because how one can cross the death with avidya? Because simple meaning of avidya, which we take as ignorance. But here Ramanuja understand the word avidya as vidyetara. That is the which excludes vidya and not opposite to vidya. So avidya is not ignorance for him. So he undertakes paryudasa here. And so by the term avidya, he understands it is a karma and it is a varnashrama vihita karma. So if one performs varnashrama vihita karma, then naturally one crosses the death, because it definitely purifies the mind. And here death is nothing but prachina karmans, that is obstacles which cause obstacles in the path of moksha. So here he has adopted the Mimamsa principle. Then the last example of Kautilya, where he has Kautilya often adopts this Purva Paksha, Uttara Paksha, and Anumatam. He often quotes his predecessors. One example I have given here, he has quoted Vata Vyadi, Danda Mitra Vyasana Yoho Mitra Vyasanam iti Vyata Vyadi. That calamity on friend is more severe than which falls on army. That was the opinion of Vata Vyadi, but Kautilya has refuted that. So sometimes he refutes the views of predecessor, but sometimes he accepts. For example, Paksha Urasyam Pratigraha iti Aushanaso Vyuha Vibhaga. So here the viewpoint about Vyuha, that is accepted by Kautilya as it is. So this is the example of Anumati. Anumatam. So this is how we can see that even our ancient Shastrakaras have adopted the scientific principles of research methodology. So even if we study our ancient treatises with that viewpoint, definitely we can adopt in our modern research as well. So that is my concluding point. So here I stop. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gowde. Sir, your comments?
First of all, I must congratulate Dr. Gowde for a wonderful paper going to the basics, which generally we miss. So I would suggest to her, write a detailed paper on these lines. It is a very good guideline for the young students how to proceed for a research project. So Shakuntala, do expand this and bring out a small booklet, because nowadays what has happened, there are certain short terms we should use, ibid, opchit, etc., etc. Nowadays, there are very few scholars who know the meaning of these words. So, your paper gives a very good insight into the primary, that is, as I told you, this is what is understanding. The understanding of your topic is more important for this way. So, do expand this paper. It's a wonderful topic is there. You are a seasoned researcher, and all the research and knowledge has been amalgamated in this very good presentation. I congratulate you, particularly because since you are in teaching field, it is necessary for your students also to know how to follow the research methodology. Nowadays, research methodology has changed a lot. What we were doing 50 years back is totally different than what you do. But still, this paper is a very good outline, and I again congratulate you for your successful attempt in, so to say, condensing everything in so small a paper. Do expand it for the benefit of the younger scholars. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Definitely, I will think in further direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you to all the participants of this session. I'd like to call upon Dr. Madhvi Narsai to thank Dr. Wakankar and the participants as well.